Hi guys, we're going to do another general Dame game today. We're actually going for a small scenario. We're going to play one actually out of the Black Powder rulebook, and the scenario is called Capture of Bandera. It's a meeting engagement between French and British forces. This is a brief view of the table. Small table, only 6x4. And the British are approaching from the eastern table edge, and they occupy this village and have 1 victory point if they hold the village. If we look into the centre, we have that barn on a hill, which is worth 6 victory points for either side. And then there's a small hill there on the right, that's worth 3 victory points for either side. And if we capture the opposing army's home village, and you can see the French clustered up there, then that's 6 victory points for the other side, and again 1 for holding it. Let's just take a look at what we got. It's a meeting engagement, so the British get 3 brigades. They can all come on the table from turn 1, but they have to deploy in march column from the table edge, or in column from the table edge, within 6 inches of the start point. So Charlie's chosen to bring on a relatively high quality brigade. He's got a Highland battalion, which will be veteran. He's got the 32nd Essex, I think it's the 28th Gloucesters, certainly they're the Gloucesters, coming on and occupying the village. Facing off against them, I've decided to seize as much ground as quickly as possible. So I'm actually coming on with my cavalry brigade. So I've got 2 cuirassier, it's not cuirassier, chasseurs à cheval regiments coming on for the French, and they have a horse artillery battery following on behind. So this is where we are at the beginning of turn 1, and we'll see how the game unfolds. We're going to try and do a few more dice rolls this time. I'm on the YouTube site. One of our subscribers said could they see a bit more dice rolling and how the mechanics of the game work out. So given this is a small game, we will do that, show a bit more of the gameplay, and please let us know whether you like that. Put some feedback in the comments as to whether you want to see dice rolls or the shorter videos that we normally do. Anyway, we'll have an experiment with this one and see how it goes. Okay, we're at the end of turn 1, and as you can see, the French are starting to move on the table. They've pushed forward their chasseurs à cheval. They are providing a scouting screen in front of their major infantry brigade, moving up with a horse artillery battery, and the start of their first infantry brigade of line infantry battalions is starting to move onto the table. And then as we pan across the table, there's the barn that we're all fighting for, and you can see the British continuing to deploy. We've got the 1st British Brigade has now occupied their own village and are starting to march forward, led by the Highlanders. And in the rear we've got a KGL Hussar regiment, and there are some KGL infantry starting to come on as the 2nd British Brigade also starts to deploy. Right, now let's both roll for ADCs, Charlie. We should both have 3 brigades. So I've got a 5, 5 and 5. That means I have 3 active ADCs. And Charlie, what did you get?
2 active ADCs.
2 active ADCs. Okay, now let's roll for activation of our brigades. Charlie, for your British brigade that's on the table, what are you going to do with your 2 ADCs?
I'm putting them on both of my table
brigades to get rerolls if we need them. All right. First brigade. That's a 1, so they were inactive. No. Oh, so they're hesitant. So the 1st brigade's hesitant. The KGL brigade.
That's cocked.
Okay. 1. And then rolling again. 3. Okay, so that brigade's active, and then the 3rd brigade that's following up, that's still currently off table, is also active. Right, we'll roll for the 3 French brigades. Rolling for the cavalry brigade that's on table. That's a 6, so they're active. The brigade that's following up is a 3, that's active, and then the brigade that's off table is a 4. So again, I allocated all my ADCs for rerolls, so all 3 French brigades are active. So there we go. The British have 1 hesitant brigade, which we'll mark up in a second. Let's roll for initiative then this turn. So Charlie, you're at -1 because you've got 1 hesitant brigade. French have got 10, they may well have the initiative. British have got 6, so French have the initiative. Right, so French will be moving first. We'll get on with the start of the movement phase. Okay, we've just completed turn 2 and we're just about to do the initiative phase for turn 3. So the 2 French chasseur battalions have moved up and are starting to deny the hill and occupy the hill for the French, and they're moving their horse artillery battery up in support, and there its crew riding alongside. The 1st French infantry brigade is now starting to deploy towards the centre of the table in this high ground, and they are also bringing their artillery battery with them. As we then move across to the British, they were somewhat stymied by that hesitant order, so the British brigade is still very much occupying the village, but Charlie's started deploying the KGL to his left flank with the hussars moving out, and in the rear you've got 2 more KGL battalions and a KGL light battalion starting to come on the table. Alright Charlie, let's roll for activation. Let's see how many ADCs we've got. So for the French, that was a 4, a 2 and a 4, so I've got 2 ADCs. And Charlie, what did you get?
I got a 4, a 1 and a 4. So that's 2
Okay,
ADCs for me.
So 2 ADCs for both of us. So where are we going to put our ADCs? So I don't think I need infantry assault or anything like that. Okay. I'm probably going to go for just extra ADCs allocated to my brigades to get my deployment underway and not use them up on a forwards order or anything like that. I want to get everything moving up. So I'm going to attach my 2 ADCs to my 2 infantry brigades. So I'll just roll for those. For the brigade in front, 6, they're active, and 6 for the 2nd brigade, and then for my cavalry, a 6! Wow, who's the one who says Charlie rolls all the 6s? I'm doing well there, but unfortunately it's only for ADC activation. Alright Charlie, let's see the rolls for the British.
So I've got my ADCs as the same as you.
Right.
So I just want to come on.
1, but you've got a re-roll.
Yep.
Yay! So which brigade was that for, Charlie?
That was
The British brigade.
Yep, the Highlanders. Everyone
Okay,
is active.
and the KGLs are active, and then the 3rd brigade that's currently off table for you, 1. So that remains hesitant and off table. Okay, we'll get on with turn 3 movement. Okay, just a shot at the end of turn 4, and you can see the French army is now streaming onto the battlefield. We've got 2 French brigades. 1st brigade's got 3 line battalions and 1 battalion of light. 2nd brigade has got 2 light battalions and 2 line battalions. You can also see both of their foot batteries now moving up in support. Unfortunately shielded by this hill and this building, so not in a great firing position. I'll probably have to deploy down to here, down to this hill. That would be ideal, but we may have to think about forwards orders or something like that to get those artillery batteries moving into position. At the front, the French cavalry should have possibly thought about a charge order, but didn't. So, having not charged, Charlie then pushed his skirmishers forward and his cavalry forward, and I moved up my horse artillery battery behind the right-hand brigade, so that can then deploy next turn and potentially open fire. Charlie is the only person in position to do any firing this turn, as he moved his riflemen into their extended range. So you've got 3 lots of riflemen, so we will just do the firing. Back in a second for the shooting. Okay, so the skirmishers here for the KGL are going to open fire at the light cavalry ahead of them. We're treating them as elite skirmishers, so we're giving them a 95th Rifles bonus, as in the actual rules for Black Powder there was the 95th Rifles and the light brigade forming this unit that I'm having the KGL play, so we're going to give Charlie the advantage of that. So they would normally get 3 dice for a skirmish screen of 3 or 4 bases, and they get a bonus dice because they're including the 95th Rifles. Okay Charlie, let's see what you get.
I get 2 casualties.
2 casualties, because you need 5 or 6s to cause a skirmish casualty. So we'll go and mark that on the base, and then we'll come back and do ADCs and initiative for turn 4. Alright, we're rolling for ADCs on turn 4. Charlie's got 3 active ADCs, he's got 3, 4 and a 5, and the French also have 3 ADCs ready to deploy. Alright Charlie, what orders are you going to give for your ADCs?
I'm just going to give a reroll to all my troops.
Charlie's going to give reroll all of his troops. I think I'm going to give a forwards order. That takes 2 ADCs, and I'm going to do that up to my forward artillery first brigade, so allowing me to move forward with extra speed the artillery batteries and hopefully capture this hill down here. So that will take 2 ADCs. So we'll roll for that, and I'll put the third ADC dice on a re-roll for that brigade. So let's roll, Charlie. Let's roll for the activation of your brigade, starting with the British brigade, which has, as you said, a re-roll. It's active. The KGL brigade
is active.
And then your third reinforcing brigade
Active.
is active. All active. Right, let's try for the French. Most important roll, the one with the forwards order, is active. Then the cavalry brigade is active, it has no re-roll, and then my final brigade, also with no re-roll, also is active. So all of us have all of our brigades active. Let's roll for initiative. So the French get 4.
And the English get a 7. So
Okay, so the British retain initiative as we move into turn 4. All right, we'll get on with charges first, as Charlie reminded me, as we start turn 4. Start of turn 4, we've declared 2 charges. The French chasseurs on the hill have charged the 95th Rifles, so Charlie just needs to do a discipline test, see if the 95th Rifles can retire.
they do.
They've got an 8, so they've passed their discipline test.
And you get to
So
shoot.
we'll just check the rules about fleeing charging cavalry, and then we've got the charge test to do, as its hussars have charged my chasseurs. So we'll need to roll, neither of us have got supports, so both of us need to roll 2d6 for our charge test. I've rolled 9.
I'm going to attach my general, so
Okay, so Charlie's attaching his general.
I've got a 5.
Alright, that means the charge probably won't go home. Okay, so looking at the charge modifiers, both units are regular. Charlie's got a general attached, so that gives him a +1, so that makes you a 6, Charlie.
Yeah.
Both Charlie's are battle cavalry, so I'm campaign cavalry. That knocks 1 off me, so change my 9 to an 8, Charlie, if you could. Both of us are formed, both of us have got the same frontage, no one suffered any casualties, neither brigade is hesitant. So I end up on 8, and Charlie, what do you end up
6.
on? On 6, so that's a -2 cavalry versus cavalry. Results in a melee. So we will we'll move those 2 units into contact, and we'll carry out the melee later in the turn. Okay, we're just doing shooting in the first 4th turn. Charlie's opening fire first. His skirmisher line's moved up through the field, and is going to be exchanging fire with those French skirmishers. Normally get 3 dice, but 2 as a skirmisher target. Again, needing 5s and 6s, Charlie.
I got nothing.
Nothing. Then you've got your 95th Rifles.
4 dice.
4 dice shooting
Wait,
against the unit that charged up to them.
Wouldn't it be 5 actually?
No, it's
Because it didn't count as moving.
3 bases, 3 or 4 bases get 3 dice, and you get a bonus dice for
Okay.
being the 95th Rifles.
I got 2 casualties.
So 2 more casualties on that French cavalry unit. I think that's it for Charlie's shooting. We'll just do the skirmish return fire from me. So again, my skirmish stand here has got 4 bases, so that will be 3 dice, and shooting at skirmishers, so only 2. We've got 2 and a 1. No, so I don't cause any casualties there. And my horse artillery battery has unlimbered, so it's going to open fire against this KGL battalion
But it's in
behind the
checkerboard.
hill.
It is in checkerboard.
It is in
though.
checkerboard, so it won't get any bounce through. So we'll roll that. I think that's going to be at... do you want to just measure that distance, Charlie, from the artillery battery to your infantry?
I think it's going to be at definitely medium range or close range.
I think it'll probably be medium range.
How
which
much
is 12 to 24.
12.
Just measure the actual distance, Charlie.
Okay.
It's the other battalion, but it doesn't really matter. What's that range?
18.
Okay, so...
Close range?
Looking at the artillery table, these are 6 to 9 pounder guns. So effective range is 12 to 24. So looking at the effective range table, the battery unlimbered, and I know from memory that's at -2. So we've rolled a 6. Now let's have a look at the modifiers. Artillery, no casualties moved, so that's minus, or it unlimbered rather, it didn't move. So that takes 6 down to 4. Column is a target at effective range, so I get an extra dice. That gets a 4.
That doesn't do anything, would it?
So we'll check whether that does anything. I think you do on a 4, 5 or 6 actually. And that's it. And -1 because you are in cover of that hedge and fence line. So that's only a 3 at effective range. Is actually a fatigue casualty on my artillery battery. And I think 1 casualty on the KGL for the fire dice. Alright, we'll press on towards hand-to-hand combat. Alright, we're now done all the shooting. Did a couple of casualties, as you saw, on the KGL battalion. So Charles put the casualty markers on there from the French artillery battery up on that hill. And we'll now move to this hand-to-hand combat. Okay, we both get 5 dice. No modifiers. Neither of us have got casualties. We roll 4, 5s or 6s for me. I've got 3 casualties.
I've got 2.
Okay, so that
I
melee result.
I fall back.
Yeah, the winner on cavalry versus cavalry, I take the ground, the losers retreat. And we then both apply those losses to our units. We'll move the troops and come back. Alright, we're at the end of turn 5 and the hussars have retreated back behind their supporting infantry units. They did unform that unit of Scots, so they're unformed in front of the chasseurs and in column. Let's roll for ADCs and initiative on turn 5. Rolling for the French. 2 ADCs and 2 ADCs for the British. Alright, what shall we do for the French? I think we're going to go for re-rolls for my 2 attacking infantry brigades, try and get them into the right position. What about you, Charlie?
I'm putting re-rolls on my 2 infantry brigades at the front.
Alright, let's do the activation rolls. Right, so rolling for my infantry brigade here on the hill. 5, they're active, and then for my other infantry brigade looking to get up towards the village, they are active as well, and then for my cavalry brigade, they are active. So all French units are active. Charlie, for you?
So my infantry brigade is reroll, active,
KGL,
control, active.
and your 3rd brigade?
Yeah.
Active. Alright. So now for initiative. And who had the initiative last turn, Charlie?
Me.
Okay, so Charlie gets the bonus if it's a draw. French have rolled a 7, British have rolled a 2,
Yeah.
French have got initiative. Alright, we'll go on with charges and movement in turn 5. Alright, first most important test for Charlie. I've got to take my discipline test. Unfortunately for Charlie, I'm only at -3 casualties, so there's no penalty off this. Oh dear, 7? No, we're alright. With 7, we've retained our discipline as a regular unit, so we have passed our discipline test. Alright, now on to charge reactions. Okay, now let's do our charge results for this combat. Let's get my dice. So Charlie's got supports, I haven't. French dice roll is 9, that's quite good.
9.
Charlie's is 9. Be an interesting one to see whether he wants to do a re-roll. You don't have to decide until we've applied all the factors, so you might want to see who's winning or not before we do. Alright, so we've both attached a general. That takes Charlie up to elite because the Highlanders are veterans, and takes mine up to veterans. Okay, charging on.
Why do you get veterans?
Because I've attached my general to the combat.
But I'm already veteran. I'm up to.
I know, so you're on elite, yeah?
So I'll be high ranking than you.
You are, yeah.
So
So Charlie is unformed, so you go down to 7.
8.
You were on 9,
Yep.
plus 1 for being elite,
Yeah.
10.
-1 is. Oh yeah.
-2 is.
Yeah, so I mean.
No, 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 8. So you were on 9, plus 1 for elite, that's 10, -2 for being unformed is 8. I'm on 9 at the moment. Infantry and in column versus square or cavalry. You are in column, Charlie, so
Plus
you go
2.
back up to 10.
Yeah.
Casualty in charge. I took 3
Okay.
casualties in the charge, so I'm on -2, so I'm on 7.
Yep.
Okay, so 7 to 10. Cavalry versus infantry. -3. Cavalry retires with 1 casualty. There we go. I retire, and
I'm not
Charlie
re-rolling.
has thrown me back.
And I'm not reloading.
And he's not re-rolling because he doesn't want to get a 1. All right, on we go with the firing phase. As is the risk with playing for with a 10-year-old, he's just decided he's going to go and have a quick watch of The Last Airbender, and has given me orders for his troops for the next couple of turns, but he says he'll be back shortly, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'll do a bit of firing following Charlie's orders, and trying to keep the flow of the game going. So his skirmishers in the field here are going to open fire at the French skirmisher screen. They've been pushed back just because the French line battalion approached, and they had to fall back in the face of a formed unit, which allowed the French skirmishers then to leapfrog forward and take that fence line. Alright, anyway, firing the skirmishers causes 2 casualties on the British. 1 casualty on the British, and then the 95th Rifles will also have another fire at the French chasseurs. I'll work on the basis they are in range. I'll go and measure that in a second, but I'll roll the dice now. They get 4 shots against the chasseurs, and they've got 1 hit. So that's 1 hit on these skirmishers and possibly 1 hit on the chasseurs. Charlie's artillery deployed this turn, but it probably will not fire because a deployed artillery target is quite a hard target anyway, and that will be at least a -4 penalty, so quite a big risk of a fatigue casualty, as it did its own deployment. So it'll save its fire till next turn, and we'll then move on to French firing. Now we've got the French return fire. We'll start with the skirmishers. Firstly, this skirmish screen down here just gets 2 dice firing at the skirmishers in the cornfield, causes 1 casualty on the British skirmish screen, and then the skirmishers in the centre are going to fire at the Highland battalion, just in range, and they cause 1 casualty on them. So there's 1 casualty on the skirmishers, 1 casualty on the Highlanders. I'll mark that up in a second. And then the French artillery, horse artillery battery, will have another go at effective range at that KGL battalion behind its own skirmish screen. Scores an 8. So we'll look at the shooting results. Okay, here we go. Firing casualties battery at effective range 8 is 2 casualties on the KGL. So we'll go and mark that up, and then we'll be getting close to close of this turn and moving on to turn 6. Right, Charlie's just arrived to give new orders and roll for his ADCs, and then let me do the rest of the dice rolling for turn 6. So we're now halfway through the game. Charlie, roll for your ADCs.
We've got 2.
2 ADCs, and we'll roll for the French. French have no ADCs this turn. Oh, that'll be a bit dodgy. Okay, let's roll for the activation. Where are you going to allocate your ADCs, Charlie?
My 2 front battalions.
Okay, 2 front brigades. Rolling for the 1st front brigade.
Active.
And for the KGL brigade.
Active.
And your reserve brigade
Active.
is hesitant. Right, now we'll roll for the French. The French left-hand brigade is active. The French right-hand brigade is active. The French cavalry brigade is active. Very lucky for the French, they've got their 3 active brigades. Let's roll who's got initiative. +1 for the French on this dice roll. They've only rolled a 6.
No, not +1.
No, I haven't got any hesitance, Charlie.
But I get a -1.
You get a -1, yeah, that's right. And 9, 8, so Charlie has the initiative. We'll see what Charlie's orders are, and then start turn 6. To the end of movement on turn 6, you can see Charlie getting aggressive here. The 28th Gloucesters, I think it's 28th, have moved forward and deployed from column into line. Expect them to start volleying against that French line battalion this turn. Their skirmishers have in turn moved back up to the fence line as their formed line infantry battalion caused the French skirmishers to recoil. In the centre, the Highlanders, supported by the 32nd Cornwall Regiment, are moving up to contest the farm outbuildings on the hill. The KGL Hussars have changed formation and have positioned themselves to potentially contest the hill with the chasseurs à cheval, and the KGL are now starting to move forward through that hedge line. Expect their artillery to resume firing this turn. In the centre, the French cavalry that was boxed in very much by the building and that hedge line has retired backwards, but has unformed itself, and the French line battalion that had to push its way through to retire to give the French infantry some space to capture the hill. Otherwise I had the concern that French cavalry were dominating the hill, but the British infantry battalions pretty impervious to being charged by French cavalry when they're in column with very few casualties, and both those French chasseur battalions have taken a fair few casualties, mainly from Skirmisher and fire when they were delaying those the British battalions earlier in the game. So we'll move on to firing now, and there's some exchange of volleys as the action starts to get serious on both the left and right flanks of the assaults. With the British firing, firstly we'll do the North Gloucesters against the French here. That'll be an inferior volley as the North Gloucesters moved forward and deployed into line this turn, so 2d6. And they've rolled a double 1. That'll be a loss of fire discipline. Don't really need to look that one up. We'll get some smoke and mark that up. Then the British light companies in the field will fire against the advancing French column. They will cause 1 casualty against the column. And then the 95th Rifles are firing against the French artillery battery on the far side. Skirmishers really are very good against artillery, and the target is not in skirmish or in cover, so they get no bonus, unlike against volleys, for firing against skirmishers. So what have we rolled? 2 5s, a 2 and a 3, so that's 2 casualties on the French artillery battery. Okay, so that's 1 casualty on this column. Just mark it up temporarily. 2 casualties on the artillery battery, and then at long range the British horse artillery battery will also do some counter battery fire, so we'll do that now. A long range shot, that's 7, it's -2 for firing to a deployed battery, that's half a casualty, so if I roll a 4, 5 or 6, it's a 3, that would have caused a casualty on that battery. That's no casualties there, we'll mark those up and return with the French counterfire. Right, now moving on to the French firing. Firstly we will fire the French line. So it'll be a standard volley because they didn't move this turn. They rolled a 4. Standard volley, 4 is also a loss of fire discipline, so no real impact there. Then we've got the skirmisher stands in the centre, firing against the Highlanders. We get 1 6, so that's 1 casualty against the Highlanders. And then we've got the artillery battery. Again, we'll have another go at the KGL, just crossing the hedge line. At effective range, that's a 6. Battery's effective range is 1 casualty, and there's also 1 combat dice to roll as well. That's a 6, so that's a 2nd casualty, so that's 2 more casualties against the KGL. Right, that's firing done. We'll move on with, come back with initiative for turn 7. Alright, rolling for ADCs in turn 7. Charlie's roll first. Oh no, he's had what Dad had last turn. No ADCs. Let's roll for the French. French get 2.
Just swapped around.
Yeah, I'm going to put artillery assault on my battery over on that far side. So I'm going to start off with the cavalry brigade. I lose artillery assault because the brigade is hesitant. Alright, my right hand infantry brigade is active and my left hand infantry brigade is active, but I'm at -1.
My Highlanders brigade is active. My KGL brigade is hesitant.
Yeah.
My last brigade,
brigade
is active.
Alright, so we're both at -1. I get 7, Charlie gets 4.
So
I've got initiative. I'll take Charlie's orders and we'll proceed with turn 7. Alright, quite a lot of activity in the movement and charge phase. Here in the centre, the KGL Hussars have charged the Chasseurs Cheval regiment that was on the hill. The British have gone on the offensive and the Highlanders have charged the French infantry battalion that was unformed by its own cavalry last turn. And the 32nd Cornwall have moved up in support. The French skirmishers that were deployed in that gap have fled and have actually moved across the board and are now in a screen between themselves and the 95th Rifles, trying to protect their own artillery battery. French infantry has moved up in support of its gun line. The final French battery to arrive has deployed on the hill now that it's potentially got some targets to shoot at if its centre gives way, given the charging of the Highlanders. As we move over onto this flank, also you see the other French artillery batteries deployed behind its own lines of infantry, again to potentially provide supporting fire to the centre or against some of those targets farther away if it can remove its own units that are advance, perhaps its own units that are screening its fire at the moment. The chasseurs down there in the centre will have reformed. I'll move those up. Whereas on the right of the British, Charlie's Reserve Brigade is now approaching that defence line, and the 28th Gloucesters are, as we saw last time, ready to start volleying. In the centre here, the French battalion that was here has charged forward and brushed away those skirmishers that were in that field. It's now in the field, so a bit of a disrupted line. Two battalions of French in line here with a column in support and another column advancing. We've got the North Gloucesters that are somewhat exposed, particularly susceptible to a flank charge. But in the centre, strong British counter-thrust going on, whereas everything is still up for it on this hill as the KGL cavalry have charged in. And down on the hesitant KGL brigade is now deployed in line, partly to reduce itself from casualties and to get itself ready to start moving forward and volleying and hopefully clearing away the French from their major objective on that hill. Alright, we'll do the charges first and then we'll move on to firing. Okay, so we'll just deal with one of the anomalies here, even though the KGL are in the same brigade. The KGL Hussars are in the same brigade as their infantry here. Given in General d'Armée you don't have mixed brigades generally, I'm going to say that those infantry aren't able to support the cavalry, and of course I have just remembered down here that the Cornwalls can't support the Highlanders because we don't have an infantry assault order yet in place for this brigade, so only that one battalion can assault this turn and will have to do so without the benefits of supports. Alright, we'll go and roll the charge for the Hussars first. So 2 dice for them, an 8, and then for the French, a 9. Alright, we'll go and apply the modifiers and see where we get to. Neither side have any supports, so French and the British have their general attached, so that makes no difference. I am battle cavalry, the KGL are battle cavalry, the French chasseurs are campaign cavalry, so that makes +1 for the British. Neither side is unformed. Casualties. The chasseurs are on 6, and the Hussars, just moving their casualty counter into place, we're on 3, so that is a further plus or a further -1 for the French. So the French are on 8, that becomes a 4. So I make it 9-8 to the British. So charge results, cavalry versus cavalry is a melee and a counter charge. So I'll move those 2 units in and conduct the melee in the melee phase. Alright, we'll now do the charge down here with the Highlanders against the unformed French. Right, the French do have a support. We will roll that dice again. Unfortunately, it was nearly a 5 or a 6. Alright, an 11 for the Highlanders. And then the French get a 4. I don't think we'll wait for the adjustments. We will take a re-roll on the 4. 4 again. This is not looking good. Okay, now let's look at the modifiers. The Highlanders have 2 casualties. So we can see our Highland casualty marker. Highlanders have 2 casualties, but the French none, but the French are unformed. So again, looking at the charge modifiers, both can have their brigade commanders attached, so that makes no difference. The British have +1 because they're a morale grade higher, and the French are unformed, so that's -2. So the British go to 12, and the French are on 2. Casualties in the charge. I need to do a defensive volley. I will just go and work that out, but I don't think it'll make much difference because the French battalion is in column and therefore will be firing at half effect and is unformed. And neither brigade is hesitant, faulting or demoralised. So on the face of it, that's a win by 10. So the attackers achieve victory, the defenders rout and suffer 1d6 casualties. We will just do the defensive volley, and hopefully for the British it won't cause a discipline test. I'll just come back with that result in a second. Yep, it's really not the French's lucky turn this turn. They've just rolled a double 1 on the defensive volley. I'm not even going to bother looking up that. So that is a rout result for that brigade, and they take 6 casualties. We will apply that and then move on with the firing phase. Okay, we'll just get started with the turn 7 firing. Firstly, we'll fire the rifles at the skirmish screen opposite them. That's normally 4 dice, but only 3 as it's firing at skirmishers. That's 2 casualties against the skirmishers. Just mark that. Okay, then we'll fire these skirmishers against this French column. 3 dice. No casualties. And then we have the volley for the Gloucesters. I have to say, I hope they do well. They are my local regiment. Alright, firing the Gloucesters. That will be a close range volley. See what we get. That's pretty terrible. I could argue that dice is cocked, but I won't. That's double 1. They've lost fire discipline again. So, not achieving a great deal. And then finally, the British artillery battery in the rear will do some long-range counter-battery fire against the French on the hill. This will be at -2. That'll be a 6. That will be half a casualty. I know what that result is. So 4, 5 or 6 to cause a casualty. Yes, 1 casualty against the French on the hill. Alright, we'll do the firing back. I'll just get the dice sorted out. So that'll be 2 for the French artillery battery. Then we've got, what else? The French skirmishers down here can probably fire at the Highlanders that are next turn. That'll be 3 dice there. And then we'll have 2 dice from this French artillery battery here. And then we'll come back and I think we may be able to fire now, given the Highlanders have advanced and dispersed the French in front of them. We will be able to fire the artillery battery against the Highlanders at effective range as well. Okay, so starting up with the artillery battery on the hill at effective range, and they'll fire at the KGL line. No, we'll keep firing at the KGL line as we'll try and break that battalion. No, we'll fire at the lights. They are the closer target. Now that's quite clear, so we will fire at the lights. They are more of a threat. 11! That's really pretty good. So battery at effective range is 3 casualties and a discipline test. 3 casualties. Knock them up. Alright, then we have got the French skirmishers against the rifles, so they will get 2 dice. No casualties. Then we've got the French skirmishers down here against the Highlanders, 3 dice. 1 casualty. And then we've got the French infantry battalion against the North Gloucesters. Excuse me for shaking the camera as I was shaking the dice. 9 as a standard volley is 3 casualties and a discipline test. I need to come back and do a discipline test. And then we will fire the French battery at effective range, also against the Highlanders. That's a 5 at effective range, is only 1 casualty. Right, we'll mark that up, make the changes, and then we'll move on to turn 8. Back in a second. Sure you spotted my deliberate mistake. We haven't done the melee combat. So 1 for the Hussars against the Chasseurs. We'll roll up to the British first, needing 4, 5s or 6s to cause casualties. That's 3 casualties on the French. French get 1 dice less because they've already got 6 casualties, and they only cause 1. So the French lose that hand-to-hand combat by 2. In a cavalry versus cavalry, lose by 2. Cavalry return to their own lines and the losers retreat. Right, we will execute those moves and then we will get on with initiative in turn 7, I think it is. Let's do a quick overview of where we are. We're actually not at turn 7, that was the end of turn 7, so we're now starting turn 8. If we look in the centre here, you can see that we've got some falter tests for the French. We have a routing infantry brigade, a faltering infantry brigade caused by that routing infantry battalion, thrown out by the Highlanders that are just emerging from the woods. In front of them, we've got 2 very weak chasseurs à cheval regiments, one with 4 casualties and one with 9 casualties. The one on the right is under retreat orders, having been defeated by the KGL Hussars on the hill. So, massing around in the centre, the remnants of the cavalry brigade. On the right-hand side for the French, we've still got the 3 other battalions of that particular brigade in pretty healthy state. We still have the French horse artillery battery on the hill, and we have the foot battery providing supporting fire against the Scottish. The left-hand flank of the French still looks pretty strong. They've deployed their artillery. They have 2 battalions in line. Got 1 battalion breaking through in the centre, opposed simply by the 28th Gloucesters. We've got Charlie's final reserve brigade moving up in support, and the KGL still remaining fairly anchored to their hedge line, but they are now in line. They have cleared the cavalry away, so time for them to start advancing on the hill. Turn 8, so this turn and then 4 more turns to go to get to the end of the game. So in crunch point, looking pretty good for the British at the moment. Alright, let's roll for ADCs in turn 9, and remember Charlie, I've got to do a falter test.
Yes.
Okay, so
I need
I'll
2
roll
ADCs.
for the French ADCs. Fortunately, I have 1, which I will allocate to my faltering brigade.
And I have 1
You
too.
have 1 as well. So I don't get any re-rolls on this, and usually I automatically allocate a re-roll to my faltering brigade as well. Here we go, faltering brigade table we need. Alright,
I'll have it.
so what do I want? This is just a regular brigade, and I've got a 4, Charlie.
So a 4 is a rally, but all routing units disperse and you retire.
Yeah, don't you just step back 6 inches, I think, if you're in close proximity to the enemy. So we will have to apply, I'll check the detail part. Charlie, can you just pass it to me? Let's have a quick look at the retire rules. Retreating and routed units disperse, you're absolutely right. All remaining units immediately retire. Oh, you're right, Charlie. All close order units lose 1 casualty, and the skirmisher units lose 1 base. Artillery withdraws limbered, and foot artillery goes low on ammo. Oh, that's on a retire. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Rally. Brigade successfully rallies. Retreating units rally, but routed units disperse. So this was for my faltering brigade, so that unit disperses, and the brigade goes hesitant. Alright, and we must immediately step back. Okay, I think you were right, Charlie, and I was wrong. Okay, we will do those moves immediately, and then we will do our activation of brigades. Okay, so we did the rolls, sorry, we did those off camera. I, as you saw, had no ODCs and have 2 hesitant brigades. The only active brigade I have is my cavalry brigade, so nothing else can advance towards the enemy. Unfortunately, my retiring skirmishers fell back away from the rifles, so they've therefore screened my own horse artillery battery on the hill, which is a bit frustrating. Charlie, as the irate British commander, has said, get the KGL moving, so we will do that. And all of Charlie's brigades are active, so we'll see some advancing going on the south flank as well. We'll get on with charges, then movement in turn 8. Okay, the British have initiative and we'll fire first in turn 8. We'll start on the far side of the board with Charlie's 95th Firefalls firing at the French Skirmisher screen. That'll be 3 dice. We're running out of space in our dice rolling place as the British infantry advance into it. Alright, starting with the 95th Rifles. That's 2 casualties on the French Skirmisher screen. That will mean they lose a base. Alright, and then for the first time, the KGL will fire a volley at the 95th Rifles. They've taken, sorry, not at the 95th Rifles, they'll fire a volley at the end of the Skirmishers screen. I think they're probably in range. We'll just check. Should be 9 inches or less. I'll do it from the middle of the unit. Yep, 8 inches. So they can fire, so we'll fire them. We've rolled a 7. Now that will be at, just looking for the charts. Okay, so that will be a inferior volley. They move because they moved. That's a 7. That's 1 casualty. They're firing at a skirmisher screen. I think that's -2. So that will be fire discipline. So that will have no further effect. Then we'll fire this little set of British skirmishers into the flank of this French column, which stepped back. It was feeling isolated and surrounded by all these British units were coming back, and wasn't in the right position to be able to declare a charge. So it's stepping back to try and reinforce the French defence of this hill. So it gets 3 skirmishers in the flank. 4, 4 and 2. No damage from that. And then we have got the 28th Gloucesters again. See if they can roll another double 1. Hey, a bit better. 8, and that's a superior volley. 8 is 3 casualties and a discipline test. So mark 3 casualties up on the French battalion. Remember, and I'll put another one there. To remember to do a discipline test against them. So this battalion's fired. Skirmishers are fired. What about these two up here? Well, the Cornwall Regiment moved forward and as in column, so we won't fire that one, but we will fire the Highlanders against the Chasseurs. It will be at half effect because it's a column, but it is stationary, so just checking if you fire in column. I think I still fire as a superior volley, but I too take half casualties. We will just check that by reading the rules a bit more closely. But we've rolled a 10. Okay, a 10 superior volley is 5 casualties. We round it down, so that's 2 casualties and a discipline test. And half casualties if fire in column. So I think that's 2 casualties on the Chasseurs and discipline test on them. We'll mark that up too. Okay, we'll just take the discipline test for the French cavalry. It's test at -1 because they've now taken 6 casualties. So that's a 5, -1 is a 4. That's fine on discipline test. 4 to 6 is unformed, so we'll make them unformed and we'll put an unformed marker on them. Alright, and then we've also got to take a discipline test against this battalion. They have no penalty. They take a 5, so they are also unformed, which will hinder their firing in response. Alright, now we'll move on to the French firing. Okay, just had a look at the French firing, and it's going to be a pretty busy turn for the French. We'll just mark this one up. They already had 2 casualties, so that goes back down to 1, and they lose a base. So we'll take that off. Okay, firing that skirmish screen, it's still at 3 bases. Firing at skirmishers, so that's only 2 dice. A 5 and a 3, so that's 1 casualty on the 95th Rifles. Alright, moving along, we've got a unformed battalion here. We'll fire a volley at the 28th Gloucesters. That's a 3, that'll be a fire discipline, so we'll mark that up in a second. And then we've got this skirmish screen, 3 dice, firing at the Highlanders. 1 casualty on the Highlanders. And then we've got battalion in the woods. They will also have a shot. They will shoot at the Cornwall Regiment, 32nd. They're just approaching this turn. This will be at half effect. 11, that's good. So standard volley at 11 is 2 casualties and a discipline test. So 2 casualties on them. I'll put a 1 down on that as well, so remember to do a discipline test on that. And now artillery. This battery on the hill can see the North Cornwall as they crest the hill there, so they will fire at them. 2 dice at effective range. 5. Effective range, 5 is 1 casualty. 3. Haven't suffered any casualties yet, and when they take the discipline test they had only taken 2, so we will remember that. Then we've got this battery here. This battery will also fire at the Cornwall Regiment on the hill, which it can see. Another 5, that's another casualty. So they are now at 4, but they won't be at the -1 because they were both done post the discipline test. So that's both those 2 artillery batteries fired. We've fired everybody else, I think. Alright, we'll go and mark those casualties up and then we'll start turn 9. Okay, we'll just do the discipline test on the 32nd Cornwall Regiment. No penalties in this. 9, they're fine. So they've taken 4 casualties now. Cameron Highlanders, the Highlanders have also taken 4. They did recover 1 casualty as a result of their successful melee attack earlier. So as we are at the end of turn 8, we have the main village disputed with both the French and the British on that hill, so no victory objectives for that one. The hill here is still firmly held by the French, so they're still basically winning, but it's much more in the balance. And we have the KGL now advancing to support the attack on the hill, and the British Reserve Brigade so they're looking to support the attack on this French left flank as well. Alright, we'll press on for turn 9. And we're now rolling with ADCs. Charlie, you can roll first for the British.
I've got
3 ADCs. How are you going to allocate them?
I'm going to put 3 on them. 2. I'm going to put infantry assault with a reroll.
Okay. Right, let's roll for the French.
That's cocked.
French have 3 as well. We are going to put artillery assault on this battery here with a reroll.
So I'll roll for my infantry first. Because my KGL is active. My my Highlander battalion
Brigade
is hesitant.
Yeah.
My reserve brigade is active, so I only have -1.
So you're at -1. Okay, the French right-hand brigade is
Hesitant.
The left-hand brigade, which has got a reroll because it's got the artillery assault on it, fails, is active.
And now your cavalry.
And then my cavalry, which is a bit useless, is active. So we're both at -1. Let's roll for initiative. French 10.
You've got the
So
initiative.
French have the initiative. Right, on we go with turn 9. Alright, we're in charge tonight at turn 9, and just an interesting move. I think we are going to have to replay this. Over in the centre here, this French infantry battalion has charged the Cornwall Regiment. And on this flank, this French infantry battalion used its charge bonus to wheel before the move started and has gone into the flank of the 29th Gloucesters. However, it has to stop at 3 inches distant, and I don't know whether you measure at 3 inches distant or at the point of impact, but at the point of impact it certainly has a British unit on its flank, so it can't do a charge if it is flanked. So I think, given that unit is exposing its flank, and then it would be the British charge turn, the British can then either charge it themselves, so I think it falls foul of the flanked rule, but if I stopped at 3 inches distant it would not actually be flanked but would be at the point of impact. So I think I'm going to rule that it can't do that charge, so I will put that one back and we'll and then play on with just the French charge over here. Let me know what you think and whether that was a valid move. Okay, so we'll do the combat down here. This French battalion is going to have a go at charging in against the Cornwall Regiment. So roll for the charge results. Gets 11. Looks pretty good. The British get 10. Interesting. We'll see how this one goes. So looking at modifiers, both are at the same status. Both are regular. Casualties, 4 on the Cornwall Regiment, so they lose 1, so they're down to 9. And I think that's it. Oh, I've got to do a defensive volley. Must keep remembering to do the defensive volleys. I'll do the defensive volley and apply the result. Okay, so we've done the defensive volley. It did only cause 1 casualty on the French, and it's an undamaged battalion. So I think I did get the dice a bit confused when I rolled the defensive volley dice, but I think the British were indeed on 9 and the French were on 11. So just looking at the charge results table, on 1 to 2, the attacker melees with Milan, and the Cornwall Regiment has to melee unformed. Right, over here, we'll do an unformed volley from the defending French battalion here as it's being charged by the North Gloucesters. So, unformed volley, so that becomes a 7 for their volley fire. Standard volley, 7 is 2 casualties on the Gloucesters. Takes them up to 5. Can't do this one-handed. Remember that. They're on 5 casualties. Right, and then we'll do the charge result, so that will be a -1. But the French will also get a minus for being unformed. So the French roll a 7. They do have the possibility for rerolls. And the North Gloucesters roll a 7. So just doing the adjustments for the charge. The French are unformed, so they're down by 2. Well, yeah. So 3 goes down to 1. So they're down by 2. And they've got 3 casualties, so no adjustment. And the brigade, I don't believe was hesitant. One of my brigades was hesitant, wasn't it? Can't remember. That's a bit of a blow. One of these shouldn't be. Perhaps it was this one that was hesitant. Charlie, were either of my brigades hesitant? Were my brigades hesitant?
Yes.
Which one?
It was your, I think it was your, this one was hesitant.
Okay.
I think it
All
was
right.
this one.
Okay, so that brigade's hesitant, so that battalion can't actually charge. So we will put that casualty back on it, but this one down here is not hesitant. So the French are on 7 with a -2, and I think that's it. The British are on 7, and they've got 5 casualties at the moment, so they're on -1, so they're on a 6. So given that the French have got a support and are currently on a 5, they will have a go at a reroll. Oh dear, that's made them worse, so they're on a 4 versus a 6. Alright, we'll see where we get to, and let's have a look at the results. On a 1 to 2, I melee with a LAN, and the defender already is unformed. So we'll move them into combat and then go into the firing phase. Okay, that turn we decided not to video all the firing as there was so much of it, and what a turn for firing it proved. So the French artillery battery on the hill here managed to cause a double 6, 5 casualties on the rifles. They have passed their discipline test, but we need to roll the destiny test as a result of that. Then we had another double 6 rolled by the Highlanders firing at this brigade regiment of chasseurs, causing a further large number of casualties on them. And again, they've got to do a destiny test. Down here we rolled a 10 with a discipline test, again from this column. So the column firing was remarkably effective. Only caused a couple of casualties, but unfortunately they rolled a 3. So the opposing British brigade has had to retire as well. So we've got a couple of destiny tests to do before we get on to the hand-to-hand combat. So we'll roll up the destiny tests. We'll just do them down here. This is on the French destiny test of A4. The attacking unit recovers 1 casualty, so we will apply that to the Highlanders. They'll appreciate that. And then the result on the rifles, 9. The unit recovers 2 casualties, and again the French artillery will benefit from that because they were again getting pretty close to being wiped out by the skirmish and musketry fire they had taken this turn. So we'll apply that, and then we'll do hand-to-hand combat. Right, view from a different angle here, one that shows a nice lot of the British colours flying. So it's the start of turn 10, we're looking at the right flank of the British assault. They're the 28th Gloucesters. Still got to do the hand-to-hand combat actually at the end of turn 9 for them, and then you've got that reserve brigade moving up in support of them. In the distance you can see the large mass of French units still holding the hill here, including the one that wasn't able to execute the flank charge last turn, but I guess fed up for not being able to do their charge, they did roll a 6 and drive off this British battalion. Over on the hill, the French artillery is causing quite significant casualties on the 2 British battalions breaking through there, but the KGL look likely to overrun the artillery this turn. Charlie's just arrived. Here he is. We'll just get on and roll hand-to-hand combat, and then we'll move on to initiative for turn 10.
4.
Right, let's do the hand-to-hand combat.
You get -2 if you do it.
So I'm on form, so I lose a dice, and Charlie's meleeing with a land, so he gains a dice. So it's 6 dice to 4. Charlie should win this combat, especially when I roll like that.
I got 3 casualties on
Charlie's got
team.
3, I've got 1. He's going to break that French unit. And he'll apply the casualties. And having a look at the combat table,
Well, then destroyed.
the infantry takes the ground and the French have to retreat. So we'll just do that movement and then move on to turn 10. Okay, we're on turn 10, and Charlie has finished watching the Airbenders movie and is now coming to join again full time for the last couple of turns of the game. Come on, Charlie, we need you to roll your ADCs. So we'll roll the French ADCs first as we're waiting for Charlie to arrive.
I'm just here.
He's just here. 1, 3 and 6. So we've got 2 French ADCs
And two
British ADCs.
So I'm definitely attaching them onto these 2 battalions. They need to fight.
Okay, and then for the French, I think we'll do the same. The cavalry is a bit of a much lost cause, so we'll attach the 2 ADCs to my 2 infantry brigades. So my right-hand infantry brigade, it's a 5. My left-hand infantry brigade is a 2, but I've got a reroll, is a 2, so that's hesitant. And then my cavalry brigade is a 4, so we will remember to put hesitant markers on it this turn. So Charlie, time to roll for your brigades.
Okay, so my
KGL.
KGL, yeah, is active.
Okay.
My
and then
Highlanders,
Highlanders, yeah.
active.
And then your reserve brigade.
Active.
Okay, and then let's roll for initiative. French get 9.
6.
Okay, so the French do have initiative, but they do have a hesitant brigade. Okay, so Charlie has followed up and has charged the 2nd French battalion in line. This and the battalion behind it retreated last time and stayed in retreat because this brigade isn't hesitant. Pardon me. Sorry about that, I was just about to sneeze. I'll probably do another one in a second. So this unformed battalion back here should be now unformed, but no longer retreating. So we can take the retreat marker off it. There we go. Could you pop that one on the side, Charlie? So they're now forming back up in a column. All right, over here. So defensive volley, I am unformed. I roll a 5, that's -2, that is 3, so that's loss of fire discipline. That will not do any casualties.
But that also affects the charge result.
Whether it does affect the charge result.
I think it does.
So anyway, Charlie, let's roll the charges. I do have a support, you don't.
Can't roll support.
I roll 10.
I roll.
You roll 10. Okay, with a 10, I don't think I'm going to do a re-roll. I don't think
Me
it
too.
do much good. And we're on the same level. We can both attach our Brigadier. So if you could attach mine, Charlie. And I am unformed, so my 10 goes down to 8. And I've got no casualties, you've got 3.
So I'm lucky
So
there.
no adjustment.
So +1 for my general.
Yeah, and I've got +1 for my general as well. So that
I attached it before the charge, you didn't, so you're not really allowed.
Yes, I am, Charlie.
What?
Okay, so that means that you've won by 2, is that right, Charlie?
Yes.
So you melee with a lad, and I melee unformed. So you need to put an allowed counter on that battalion.
I win by 3 actually, because I have 11, you have...
Okay. 3.
9.
Oh, I take the ground and I retreat with 1d3 casualties then. Okay, so I retreat with 1d3 casualties. So 3, so that's 2 extra casualties to that battalion, and they need to retreat. Alright, we will do that now. Okay, so we're doing another charge in the centre. Charlie's charged me, so I need to do a defensive volley in column, so this will be half effect. Rolling a 6. There's the 6. Okay, let's just have a look at the shooting tables. Standard volley on a 6 is 1, half of that is 0, so nothing for that. I've got no support, you've got a
Yep, I've got a
flank support.
Yes.
I don't know whether you can use flank supports though, because you haven't got infantry as assault on anything other than the KGL.
Oh,
Yeah, so no flank support. Alright, so let's roll for the French. 10, another good roll. 5 for the British.
I'm going to attach my
No,
general.
you
Actually,
can
no,
attach.
no, I'm not going to. I won't win.
He's not going to attach his general. I will attach mine. So I've got 10, 11 against 5. I've won by 6. That's quite a good result for me. Charge result -6 or worse. Attacker retreats and lose 1d3 casualties. Please, Chad.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll now do turn 10 firing from the French. We'll start at the far side here. We've got a French column that's going to fire at those skirmishers. So this will be at -2 and half casualties. So 8 standard volley is 3 casualties, -2 is 6 is 1. That's nothing. Then as we go down the line, we've got another French column here. That will also fire at the Highlanders. Half effect, that'll be nothing. Then we've got 4 French skirmishers bases firing at the Highlanders, and that does 1 casualty against the Highlanders. So 1 next to them. Then we've got this French line, which is going to fire an inferior volley at the British unit opposite it. That's an 8 inferior volley is 2 casualties against this unit. Okay, and then we've got an inferior volley from this unit that have just formed up this turn, and half casualties as well. 8 is 2 casualties, so that just does 1 on this unit here. Then we've got that French artillery battery on the hill, which will have a go at the KGL over there at long range. 2, that's a fatigue casualty on myself. Put 1 on there. Other things that are worthy of note in movement, the exposed French artillery battery that was on the hill, the horse artillery, has limbered up and has started withdrawing. Over here we've still got the cauldron facing the British in the centre. The French battalion charged and actually got a great result, 1 by 6, and has thrown the Cornwall battalion back. So the Highlanders are very exposed and being surrounded by French fire. On this flank it's quite confused. British battalion, the Gloucesters, has made really good progress and it's got a very weak French battalion in front of it, but it could be charged in the flank next turn, and other French battalions are trying to sort of reform their line on this hill. So still all to play for over here. We'll now do the British firing in turn 10. Okay, Charlie's going to kick off with the British firing. Where are you starting, Charlie?
So this battalion of the Yorkshire, I think it's Yorkshire.
North Gloucester.
No, Gloucestershire is going to shoot at the unformed French line regiment.
Yep.
Oh, it gets 12.
Wow. Okay, so that does
4 casualties.
It's an inferior volley because you moved, didn't you? So 4 casualties in a discipline
No, I
test.
haven't moved today. I mean, this
You
turn.
haven't moved. That one moved forward, didn't it?
No, didn't.
Okay. So that's 6 casualties in a discipline test.
Gone.
It's gone. Okay, so that unit's disappeared. Let's just leave it there for a second, Charlie, and we'll carry on with the firing.
Okay, now I'm going to get this battalion to open and fire at them.
Okay.
2 dice. Oh, get 12 again.
No way.
Yes.
Way. That's another 12. That's 2 12s. That's 2 destiny tests as well, isn't it, Charlie?
Yeah.
Did you get a 12 on this one too?
Yes, I forgot to do the destiny test.
Okay, well let's do the casualties first on this one. Did your battalion move up this turn? It did. It moved
yes.
into line. So that's 4 casualties on that French battalion.
I think that's already had casualties yet, it's just far back. Okay, now my skirmishers. Gonna open fire on the same target.
No, we've got to do the destiny test first.
Oh yeah, I'll do my first one up there first.
First we'll do the destiny test on this battalion.
I got 8.
And you got an 8. That is discipline. Recover 1 casualty.
Good.
Okay, and then your destiny test on the one that just fired.
Oh, got 12 again. That's a house shell.
That's a risk to general. Your general is unsightly demise. Poor fellow is never seen again. The brigade is faltering. It would be faltering anyway because the battalion has been destroyed.
That worth it?
No, but it's faltering. Okay, and now skirmisher shots.
So 2 dice. I mean 3 dice actually.
Oh, you've got to do the destiny test. The falter test on that one that just took the casualties there, Charlie.
This one.
On this unit because you just caused it to take a
oh
test.
Yeah.
How many
these
casualties
two.
did it take?
These two.
Yeah, you've done that one.
That one took 4 casualties.
Okay, so it needs to take a falter test at -1.
It's fine.
7. Okay, it's fine. Okay, now the skirmishers. 3 dice.
Same target.
2
got
more
2
casualties. So it's now on 8.
It's firing. It's very deadly.
Okay.
My Highlanders are going to shoot at your cavalry with 9 casualties.
Okay, so that'll be a superior volley, but at half effect.
It got to 6. It's nothing.
Yeah, I don't think that will be anything at half effect. Superior volley is 1 casualty. So they're on 10.
Oh, that's very bad. 2 more and they're destroyed.
Yeah.
So I'm now going to fire my skirmishers.
Yeah.
4 dice
Yeah.
at the column.
Yeah.
Get 2
2 more
casualties.
casualties. Okay, so we'll mark that up on the column, and that's the end of your firing, Charlie.
Yes, very deadly firing, I say.
All right, we're just rolling for ADCs at the start of turn 11. 1 more turn to go.
2.
Tyler's got 2 ADCs. I've got a falter test, so I need at least 1 ADC, or my brigade will be gone. 1 ADC. So I have to deploy that onto my brigade that is faltering. Let's roll for your brigades then, Charlie.
So I'm just putting my markers on.
Okay.
There we go. So these people, my reserve people are active. My elite battalion there is active. My KGL, what I need to be active is, because this will be able to make me win the battle if I have to take that hill.
Okay, only 2 turns to go for Charlie to take the hill. All right. Falter test 6. I think that's pretty good.
I thought that was your ADC.
Any better? That is my only ADC. I only had 1.
I thought you were doing your activations first, and then.
So that's obey orders. So we are fine. They're rolling for my other brigades.
You will get another one soon because they have 8 casualties, so probably have to get one.
Rolling for my right hand brigade is active, and rolling for my cavalry brigade is active.
So everything's active.
So
on both
everything's
sides.
active on both sides. Let's roll for initiative. I get 7.
I get
11.
11.
Okay, British got initiative on turn 11. So over on the far left British flank, the KGL have now finally gone in. They've run infantry assault, so they're supported by their light battalion, and they've charged into that French line battalion. How many casualties, Charlie, have my line battalion got?
2.
Okay, so he will do a defensive volley. He gets 7, but it's at half effect.
I think that's just nothing.
No, it'll probably be 1, but standard volley, 7 is 2 casualties, half effect is 1 casualty on you, Charlie.
Okay. Well, that they've taken no casualties, so that doesn't really matter really to me. So.
Okay, now let's roll for charge results.
Ooh, I got 10.
Okay, I've got 7, and I've got a supporting battalion, so I am going to re-roll. Or even better, I've got 6.
So
You've got 10.
Yeah. I'm not re-rolling anything.
You're veteran, so you're 1 higher than me.
I have my general attached.
Okay, I have my general attached.
So I'm on 12 right now.
Okay, I'm on 7. How many casualties?
You have 2, and you're hesitant, it says.
I want the whole brigade.
Hesitant, yeah. It says here, hesitant.
Yeah, I think that was from last turn.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. So, I've got 7 and you've got 12, is that right, Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay, so charge is at -5, +5 rather. Attacker takes the ground, I take 1d3 casualties.
Roll.
So I retreat and I take 2 casualties.
But you rolled 2 dice, Dad.
No, I rolled 1 and then it knocked a different one over. Alright, the French won by 5. I had to retreat. Or 5 or 6.
The
British did. I had to retreat and have fallen back through my supporting battalion. Both are now unformed. The rear arm is retreating. My general was engaged in the combat. We did a risk to general test. I've rolled a 2. He was killed. And so that whole right-hand brigade is faltering. Charlie, let's do the one down here.
Yep.
My battalion charging your Gloucesters in the flank.
Ooh.
I get a 3, you get a 9. That's a bit of a blow. I should have walloped you there, but that's a terrible set of dice rolls.
I'm putting my general in this combat.
So you put a general in, so you're on 10.
Yep.
I don't have a
Yeah.
colonel because he's been killed. So it is a flank charge. So it's 2 off you, Charlie.
Yep, 2 of me.
Yeah. But I've only got 3. What have you got?
I've got 9.
That's -6. Sorry, 6 plus. No, -6. Attacker retreats with 1d3 casualties, and you stand. The North Gloucesters have taken a charge in the flank, stayed steady, and the French have bounced off.
They're definitely veterans now.
They definitely are veterans now, Charlie. Okay, so we're now onto the shooting phase. Charlie's going first. So he's got a volley from the reserve British battalion against that French battalion opposing it.
All 7.
7.
No.
Superior volley is 3 casualties.
11 casualties.
Okay.
1 casualty skirmishers.
in the flank.
Please skirmishers do this. Yes, they
Yes,
do.
that battalion dissolves. So we have both French brigades now faltering, and I have no brigadiers, so this is not sounding very good. I think we might move straight on to the falter tests, although Charlie does have a little bit more shooting to do, but
So
we'll just do the falter tests, because I think the Gloucesters have taken the hill, and there's nothing really to oppose them. And the French battalions over there are all faltering, so unless they pull themselves together, the French are in big trouble. Okay, we'll just do a final flyby of the table. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoyed the extra shots of the rules and so forth. I'm sure we made loads of mistakes, so please forgive us if we did. And I know we got some of the turns out of order, and I probably even forgot which brigades were hesitant or not at times, because we didn't always put all of the markers on, but we certainly had a fun time. Hope you did. The final shot of the battlefield, here it is from the French right flank. It's managed to at least escape with all of their artillery batteries, none of those being lost. Here we can see the final foot artillery battery looking out over the field, and the remnants of the brigade that just failed its falter test, and that has been pushed off the hill, which was the main objective of the British attack. French also lost, I think, only just 2, possibly 3 battalions during the game. I don't think the British lost any. As we move across, here we've got the French chasseurs à cheval, some of their line infantry regiments, including the disgruntled battalions being pushed off the hill. Here by a battalion of KGL, supported by KGL Light. In the centre, redoubtable Highlanders, still holding out there, still with relatively few casualties Managed to get a couple back by rolling their double six and getting the destiny test and also their successful comments. And here on the left flank, the victorious North Gloucestershire and their supports and that one remaining French battalion about to be gobbled up. Just run around the table. Take a view from the other side. Here are the various British battalions. I've thrown off the French. These battalions painted by a mixture of myself and Kevin East. Nice shot of one of the French battalions. They're retiring artillery and the French command. And of course the KGL Hussars do pretty well for themselves in this game. And another battalion of KGL. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the game. Let us know what you think of these slightly longer videos with all the dice rolls. Quite a lot of extra work to do all of that filming, and we'll see how coherent it all seems. I think my inclination is to go back to the short 20-minute, half-an-hour videos when we just show the occasional hand-to-hand combat, give an overall narrative of the game, but if people prefer this one, let us know. We may consider doing another couple. We'll probably have another go at another black powder related scenario, still using the general Dharma rules, which I still do like. And catch you all soon. Cheers.